Welcome to the Half-Blood Report.
Here we dive deep into recent Demigod news, upcoming Presents books, questions only Zeus knows the answer to, and all other things Riordan. I'm Samuel, your co-host.
And I'm Diego, your other co-host.
So we wanted to start this podcast because, first of all, we love Rick Riordan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, all his books. So now with Rick Riordan Presents, the Riordan universe is expanding to different authors, different websites, different mythologies, and most importantly, different series and stuff. So myths are hard enough to understand, and when you add on all these different layers of book tours and sneak peeks at upcoming books, it becomes hard for fans to keep track of stuff. So we thought it would be nice to have a place for fans like us to get all that information. And so we started this new podcast to cover that for all you guys.
With that said, I think it's time for us to look at Demigod news.
Yeah, okay. So, first on the agenda, it turns out Roshani Chokshi, J.C. Cervantes, and Carlos Hernandez, all authors of Rick Riordan Presents books, will be at the Brooklyn Book Festival on the 21st of September, which it hasn't really been mentioned on any Rick Riordan website. So I just found out about this by looking at Roshani Chokshi's website and then looking at the Brooklyn Book Festival website, and none of the offers have mentioned this on their website. So I just thought that was crazy. And also Brooklyn's really close to us, Diego. So I don't know. You'd think there'd be more advertising about 3 Rick Riordan Presents offers.
No, there's nothing out there. The second thing we wanted to kind of just mention is that there's the
Demigod goals hashtag Demigod goals 2019.
The second link is and
they're
we wanted to mention
they're like Demigod. They're Rick Riordan conventions. One thing that annoys me is that I feel, which doesn't make sense to me because Rick Riordan, he lives in Boston, but I feel like almost the upper East Coast had just not anything, right?
It's pretty weird. It looks like Colorado, Alabama, California, Texas, New Mexico, and
there's Georgia.
I don't even know what.
There's Georgia.
Yeah,
that's kind of close-ish. Not really.
Maybe he's expanding for all you listeners out there on the East Coast. I guess we'll just have to wait it out.
Yeah, that's disappointing, but I don't know. So lastly, we also just wanted to talk about this most recent character highlight, which was the one on Zia Rashid. So it basically just talks about everything that we already know about her. What I do like what they're doing with these character sort of highlights is that we're getting new artwork for all of them. Some of them we don't have any artwork, and now we're actually getting some stuff. Not
that I agree with the artwork, but
also I like when they give us the character highlights before the book comes out, because that's great, like a little sneak peek at a future character. But this, the Kane Chronicles is no way or near recent or prior to coming out. So, I don't know. The artwork is nice. Yeah,
it's time to consult the Oracle.
Yes, so in this section we decided to ask Delphi all about a future Rick Riordan or Rick Riordan Presents book.
But we don't have Rachel Elizabeth there or any other Oracle for that matter.
Yeah, instead we decided to use the internet and research to find out as much as we can about a future book.
This week, we've chosen to look at Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. The book by Quain, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Dahlia, is about the battle between ancient African gods and gods of African American legend, focusing on the young protagonist swept up in it.
Yeah, if anyone out there can help us pronounce this name, please, email us. Yeah, we need to do better on stuff like that. So I'm going to read the description, and then we'll talk initial thoughts and then research. So the book is described as follows. 7th grader Tristan Strong feels anything but strong ever since he failed to save his best friend when they were in a bus accident together. All he has left of Eddie is the journal his friend wrote stories in. Tristan is dreading the month he's going to spend on his grandparents' farm in Alabama, where he's been sent to heal from the tragedy. But on his first night there, a sticky creature shows up in his bedroom and steals Eddie's journal. Tristan chases after it. Is that a doll? And a tug of war ensues between them underneath a bottle tree. In a last attempt to wrestle the journal out of the creature's hands, Tristan punches the tree, accidentally ripping open a chasm into the mid-pass, a volatile place with a burning sea, haunted bone ships, and iron monsters that are hunting the inhabitants of this world. Tristan finds himself in the middle of a battle that has left Black American gods John Henry and Brer Rabbit exhausted. In order to get back to home, Tristan and these new allies will need to entice the god Anansi, the Weaver, to come out of hiding and seal the hole in the sky. But bartering with the trickster Anansi always comes at a price. Can Tristan save this world before he loses more of the things he loves? What do you think, Diego?
Well, I think it sure as hell looks interesting, but for those of you out there who kind of don't get the two names that we've kind of been given here in a sneak peek, we did some further research, and
But
Anansi.
can I just say, before that, I just want to say, after reading this, I was really excited. Like, I'm actually totally pumped for this book because we have had lots and lots of references and lots of clues in the Rick Riordan books that gods from different mythologies exist in the same Earth. But we have never had, we have had heroes, but we've never had gods from different mythologies interacting. Definitely not fighting. So I just thought, like this African American folklore, and now this ancient African folklore, like these not getting along. I just thought that is going to play out really interestingly.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's always been kind of like dropped in with the Kane Chronicles crossovers with Percy Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've never actually seen this stuff in action. Should be cool to take a look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you want to start off talking about Anansi?
Yeah. So it looks like Anansi is a folktale character that is considered to be a spider and stuff. It looks like a very interesting character in African folklore. I don't know. It's basically like a spider, and
Yeah,
spider god. But
spider trickster god. Like this is essentially
yeah,
Loki.
she weaves stories. Yeah, it's spider Loki.
So also one thing, one of his stories that I thought was hilarious is basically all the world stories were locked up in a box. So Anansi, he wanted to buy them because he thought life was boring without stories. So the way he bought them was the price was the three most dangerous monsters in the world, and they were all much bigger than him. And there was also a beehive, which you can't trap a whole beehive, but he managed to use his trickery and his wits and his of course his web to capture all three giant beasts and let the world have stories.
Don't sound too bad for himself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If he kept all the stories, he couldn't be told any stories. So.
Thanks a bunch, Nasi. Shout out to you.
Yeah, I mean, life would be pretty
We
dull.
wouldn't be having this podcast.
Rick Riordan wouldn't have any books out there for Anansi. So, grazie. Okay. Brer Rabbit. He might sound familiar if, I don't know, Disney made a movie about him called Song of the South. He's also one of the central figures in Uncle Remus's collected African American folklore stories. If not, you probably have no idea who he is and you're waiting for us to get to the point, so let's. You want to talk some initial stuff, Diego?
No, you take it.
Oh, okay. So he is basically this trickster folklore character in African American and Caribbean slave folklore. Though, interestingly, I can't find a reference to him as a god. Some people make connections to him in Anansi, because they're both tricksters, and also, Brer Rabbit's main story is like his most famous story is one where he accidentally, well, a wolf sets out a basically a baby doll made out of tar, and so Brer Rabbit punches it because it won't talk to him, and he's like thinks it's trying to be rude, and so then he gets stuck to the tar, and the wolf is like, ah, now I've caught you, and I'm gonna eat you, and then Brer Rabbit's like, oh, please eat me, but don't throw me in that bush. And so then the wolf is like, well, if you really don't want to be thrown into that bush, let me throw you into that bush. And so then Brer Rabbit, because he gets thrown into a bush, he escapes. And so people connect him to Anansi because Anansi has a similar story where he gets stuck to tar. And but also, and here's when I think it gets pretty interesting. There's a Native American Cherokee story about a rabbit who escapes from a wolf who captures him with tar. So some scholars, I like to consider myself a scholar, believe the stories from these different cultures, Cherokee and African American, merged into Brer Rabbit.
Oh, that's actually really interesting. John Henry, the other
Wait.
name that we mentioned.
I am not done with Brer Rabbit. I'm sorry. So that baby Tar, okay? That baby Tar, he's his main story. Let me just reread a part from the description of Tristan Strong. A sticky creature shows up in his bedroom and steals Eddie's journal. Tristan chases it after it. Is that a doll? ... What do you think of that?
Well, I definitely think that I'm not dropping a really big hint there, and also definitely making sure that super fans like us do research into those stories.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm talking a lot about Brer Rabbit. Finally, a fun fact. Astronaut John Young was the 9th person to step onto the moon. And you know his first words he said when he got there were?
No.
I'm sure glad they got old Brer Rabbit here, back in the briar patch where he belongs. So yeah, that was his one small step for man, whatever.
That's curious.
Okay. Yeah, you talk about John Henry.
All right. John Henry was an African American folk hero. You guys might have heard this one. But he raced against this. His most famous. Yeah, he raced against this steel machine, and he beat it, and it was a really impressive feat because it was supposed to be super fast, and he looks like a muscle man. Maybe I don't know what kind of character we're looking at here, but
he basically, it was like who could lay more steel in less time, and he beat a machine that was supposed to be able to do his job better, but then he died in the process. So
yeah.
Here's what I think is kind of interesting. In Hotel Valhalla's Guide to the Norse Worlds, a spin-off book of Magnus Chase series, there is a story that talks about how Henry is a demigod son of Thor, and when he dies, he becomes an unhairy at Hotel Valhalla. Which means that this series is basically going to have to contradict Rick Riordan's books, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but this is the first time we have seen it happen. Yeah. You know?
Well, maybe he's the same thing though. I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I was just thinking about it, and I thought maybe Tristan Strong's first encounter with Brer Rabbit, Brer Rabbit's gonna try to trick him, and then John Henry is gonna interfere because he doesn't want Tristan Strong to just be tricked by his annoying companion.
Yeah, I think we're looking at John Henry as the good guy, and Brer Rabbit and the Nazi as our antagonists.
Well, not an antagonist, I would argue, because it seems Tristan Strong. They call both of them allies, but I do think it's not. I do think it will be almost like Brer Rabbit's like an anti-hero, and John Henry is definitely doesn't seem like that. So I do think the whole trio relationship is going to be fascinating to watch or read, I should say.
Yeah. All right. I think it's time for our next section.
You think it's time to Odin and Athena?
That's right. It's time to contemplate stuff like the wisest gods out there. In this section, one of us proposes a Riordan-related question to talk about. What's this week's question, Samuel?
Okay. So this week's question is in. Let me just give a bit of context. In the myth of Hercules, you might know this. Hercules goes to the Oracle of Delphi to ask what he should do to redeem himself from killing his family. And the Oracle of Delphi doesn't talk through Apollo, the god of prophecy, this time. Instead, Hera, who hates Hercules, talks through the Oracle. And Hera basically tells him, oh, you're going to have to do 12 jobs for your annoying cousin. Because Hera hates him. So we know from the Greek myths that Hera has the ability to talk through the Oracle of Delphi. Do you think that there's a chance that the big three prophecy, which permitted Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades to have kids, might have been uttered by Hera just to give a little bit more incentive to Zeus to not have kids?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I think that that's definitely a possibility now that you mention it. Yeah, it sounds like Hera finally found her way to get back at Zeus by preventing him from having any other demigod children.
But
yeah, I guess it's definitely possible.
wait,
But that like presents the
let me just play devil's advocate on you, okay?
yeah.
If Hera was the one speaking through it and not Apollo, the god of prophecy,
Yeah.
why didn't it then come true? I mean, we don't have any evidence that Hera's prophecy she speaks for the Oracle of Delphi do come true.
That's also a good question.
So,
Well, yeah, I guess she kind of like, I mean, knowing like what I know of Hera, she seems like a very like tough person that could definitely like find her way into this stuff. But I think maybe we're looking at like an Apollo Hera collab.
yes, I mean the gods do stuff like
maybe
that.
maybe the like prophecy part was straight Apollo, but the fact that they just couldn't have any children was Hera kind of dropping it in there, because it seems like the logical answer, but like we know it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And Hera was just like dropping it in there to go like it better happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is sort of. I mean, at the end of the day, I do feel like it's a weird catch-22 where it's like she might have done it, but also who knows, you know?
Woo!
'Cause-
Well,
yeah.
that's a good way to end this episode.
Yep. We don't know, guys.
All right, that's it for this episode of the Half-Blood Report. Samuel, where can I find you?
You can contact me with compliments, questions, corrections, suggestions, or anything else at thehalfbloodreport@gmail.com. What about you, Diego?
Drop it on the same email.
Okay. That said, it's time for our credits. Our theme music is Smells Like Summer from Audio Library. Our recording equipment is on loan from William Bachman. This episode's research came from Riordan.com, OceaniChokshi.com, BrooklynBookFestival.org, and Wikipedia.org. My co-host here is Diego, and I'm Samuel. This is the Half Blood Report podcast, the only HBR that matters. Survive till next week.